deLight, and we're going to continue with discussing communication and the way this impacts our lives and our relationships with those around us. So today we're just going to have a look at what are the things that we can change or that we can grow in to make us better listeners and better communicators. So to start off with, we're going to take a look at emotional intelligence. Emotional intelligence is something that plays such a big role in understanding ourselves and those around us. So just going to Google quickly, it says emotional intelligence, otherwise known as emotional quotient or EQ, is the ability to understand, use, and manage your own emotions in a positive way, to relieve stress, to empathize with others, and to overcome challenges and diffuse conflict. Wow, that's a mouthful. That's what we want. That's what we need, right? So in short, it just helps us to provide us with tools to understand ourselves and others better, and to better communicate in a way that people can understand what we try to say, and also allows us to really listen to what people say and not to take everything personal, but to actually be able to put ourselves in that person's shoes and understand where they are coming from. So firstly, we need to realize that emotions play a very big part, very big role in our communication. Our non-verbal communication is mostly guided by our emotions. So our body language, our tone of voice is guided by those emotions. So sometimes my husband will say, yes, Monique, why are you so irritated? Then I'm like, I'm not irritated. And then I need to go back and realize, if I just heard my tone of voice, I would realize I am actually irritated now about something, and I don't really quite know why. So our tone of voice and our body language cannot hide our emotions always. So they are a true reflection, or sometimes, of what's really going on in our hearts and in our minds. So we all know that emotions are up and down. Today they are here, tomorrow they are there. They are very unpredictable, and they can be very misleading. So we cannot base our behavior and our decisions and the way we communicate always on what we feel. Sometimes we need to put aside what we feel to do what is right for the situation, to put ourselves and our own desires and our own self-centeredness. Sometimes we just need to put all of that aside to communicate from a place where the foundation on which we make decisions, on which we build our behavior from, is based on the word, on God's truth, which is the same yesterday, today, and tomorrow, which is not up and down as our emotions are. So if God says, I am wonderfully and fearfully made, and tomorrow I don't feel so wonderful and fearfully made, and I feel all down in the dumps. Now someone tells me, wow, you look pretty. And then I'm like, oh, they don't even know what they're saying. What do they want? They just want something from me, because my emotions is not in a good place. So the funnel through which I'm listening is, they probably have an agenda. They want something. Why are they? Meanwhile, they are just complimenting because they think you really look pretty today, and they just wanted to bless you with acknowledging that you maybe did some effort, and they think you look pretty. So then our response should not come from that place of, it should be, thank you for your comment, and I appreciate it. And then in your heart telling yourself, yeah, I know I don't feel pretty today, I feel awful, everything is just going wrong, but I know I am the daughter of a king, and I know that I've been paid with the biggest price that has ever been paid for any human being, of the life of Jesus, so my life is valuable, and I don't need to feel so worthless or insecure or whatever. So that's just an example. So as we are human, those emotions will always still come up. It's just the way that we respond to them that changes when we grow in our emotional intelligence, and in spending time in the Word, and allowing that truth to penetrate our hearts. So we can't always control our emotions from arising, but we can control our reactions towards it. So if someone else is rude to you, you can decide Am I going to respond with an equal or even a bigger amount of ruthlessness and rudeness? Or will I choose to do what the word says, a kind word diffuses someone's anger? I'm not exactly saying it exactly like in scripture, but that's what it comes down to. So we can decide if someone else's bad behavior is going to make us just want to match it and just bring an equal amount or even more to just make it worse. Or if we are going to decide, I'm not going to go there in this situation, it's not worth it. I will cover this person with a kind word and I will allow this situation to be diffused. So we can control not those emotions that come up, but we can control how we react to it. We cannot control someone else's behavior, but again, our response to that behavior, we can control and should take accountability and responsibility for that. Also, something to consider is that situations can't create feelings. Only your thoughts about the situation can. So isn't that scary to think how many things we feel about things around us, which is actually just because of our thoughts about that situation or about that thing or person. It says in John 8, verse 31 to 32, that if you abide in my word, you will know the truth, and the truth will set you free. So the truth is the standard, the foundation upon which we can build our decision making and our behavior. That is the guide by which we can compare and the mirror in which we look to see how we are supposed to handle difficult situations. If you read, there's so many places in the New Testament and in Proverbs, there are so many examples of how to handle conflict. What to do when two people are arguing. There's in Proverbs, just quickly coming to my mind, if two people are arguing, don't interfere, because it's like two dogs fighting with each other, and the moment that you interfere, they bite you. So that's literally what happens when you try to separate two dogs that are fighting. Or it says when two people are fighting and you want to interfere, it's like putting your head into a bee's nest and you're just going to get stung. So it's so simple and practical, and it just stays in my mind. I always remember these things because of the practicality thereof. So there are so many things in the word that guides us. It's a guide, it's a map, it's living, and it is just as relevant 2,000 years ago as it is today. So it's awesome if you just take the time to go and read up and take those tools and put it in your toolkit and use it when those situations comes up. So if we want to become better communicators and better listeners, we need to understand ourselves better. And that is where emotional intelligence really comes in. So emotional intelligence involves that we are aware of our own strengths and of our own weaknesses. There's a self-awareness that is involved, knowing that for me, for example, you might be someone who gets angry quite easily, then you know that's not a strength, that's a growth area that you're battling with. But a strong point is maybe that you forgive very quickly, that if something is sorted out, you know it's behind you, you forget about it, you let it go, you have the ability to really forgive quite easily and quickly without holding things against people. So to be aware, what are your strengths and what are your weaknesses? Secondly, you are able to identify your own emotions and those also of the people around you. So you are able to identify, okay, this thing that's happening, it's pressing a button. I don't really quite maybe know why, but I can feel, okay, I'm getting angry. So emotional intelligence, you can identify your own emotions, those of the people around you, and also the effect that your emotions have on those around you. Okay, thirdly, you can discern the intentions of others irrespective of their behavior. And if I can give an example, I know a person who comes from a very rigid disciplinary background in terms of their job, and the person has a strong voice and as if the communication is in a command type of form, and people might experience this person as rigid and not as a warm person, and as if he's a difficult person. But if you get to know that person, behind all of that, the loud voice and the way of saying things, there's a beautiful heart, which will go the extra mile for those around him with so much love and so much compassion. And if you see the way which his own children are so fond of him, love him and appreciate him, it makes you realize that there's something that's so beautiful and genuine about this person. But if you just took the time to interpret the person's intentions and look past the way that they sounded or maybe communicated to understand their heart, it would have been possible for you to actually get to know a jewel of a person. Okay, fourthly, emotional intelligence involves self-regulation. So you can control or redirect your own disruptive behaviors. So you can put aside your own emotions and adopt or adapt to what the situation calls for. So if, for example, if you are angry with your spouse and something happened, but you can realize this is now not the time for you to have an angry contest. Your spouse actually went through a tough thing today, and that's maybe why they are overreacting. So it's not the right time now for you to be oversensitive and make it all about yourself. Listen to your spouse, even though maybe they are angry and they're communicating with all these signals that are coming through. Put aside your own emotions, put aside what you feel, and do what is necessary for the situation. Fifthly, emotional intelligence involves not hiding behind the excuse that your weaknesses are your weaknesses. It is making a decision, irrespective of a specific thing being a weakness for you, to do what is right. So you don't use your weaknesses as an escape, like I am someone who gets angry easily, you just need to deal with it. It means that you are aware that you are a person who gets angry easily, but that you take responsibility to try and work on it, to put things in place, to, if you are angry in the moment, to say, can we please take a time out? Give me 5 minutes. If you know you're not going to be able to restrain yourself, for an example. Also, on the 6th point, emotional intelligence involves being open to try new behavior. And that is an example of trying a new behavior. If you know you are someone who gets angry quite easily, and it's in the heat of a thing, you say, I'm sorry, please don't read this as disrespectful, but please can we take 5 minutes so that I can just cool down and I can come back with an objective perspective, not acting from emotions. So being open for growth in emotional intelligence involves being open to try new behaviors. So for me, something that has changed is I'm a conflict avoider in nature, in my personality type. But I have come to the realization that not all conflict needs to be destructive. Conflict can be constructive, and that it is important to face things and to resolve things. So I have changed my behavior from being very closed to conflict and running away and just trying to please everyone and everything for the sake of not causing any conflict, to coming to a place where I realize we need to talk things out. I need to face things, and that involves talking about things and having a healthy amount of conflict in a constructive manner. So we are still talking about how we can change and how we can become better listeners and communicators. And a nice contribution to this would be to look at the Johari window. So you can just take a look at this slide. And this is a block with 4 quadrants. And the first block is, we called it the open block. And these are things that you are aware in yourself about, things that you do and say, and things that you know about yourself. And also things that other people know about you. Then it moves to a block which is hidden, things that you know about yourself, but which other people around you don't know. So it's hidden from them, but it's disclosed to yourself. You are aware of them, and you can choose if you want to share those things with the people around you or not. Then we have a block where it says the blind block, where it's things that you are not aware of that are in your life. You are completely oblivious to those things in your life, but other people see them so easily. And that's why it's important for us to often ask feedback from our spouses and from the people we work with and around us, from our mentors, and to see if there are not areas in which we need to grow, which we are blind to, we don't see them. And then the last block is the unknown block, which is just made up of a place where there's so much growth possibility. And these are the things that you are not aware of yourself, but also other people are not aware of. But the King is so aware. So much potential that is hidden in that block, which God wants you to discover as you grow in your relationship with Him. It brings insight into your life, and it brings change. So that's when we start exploring new things, and we are open to learn and to grow. If we are open to ask for feedback, and it becomes a place where we work on things, we move into that unknown area. And you will not know what the results will be if you don't try. It's sad how we often keep doing the same things over and over and expecting that things will go better. I don't know if you have certain situations that me and my husband, when we go down that route, we always fight. It doesn't matter how hard we try. There's just those 2-3 topics. If we find ourselves, whoop, we just went around again. And if I can give an example of how God has revealed something to me that I was blind about myself. And I'm sure that my husband was not aware of it to put his finger on it, but he could taste the fruit of it. So this was a time when we were in this rut, just fighting about the same things over and over and over. And I just came to a place where I was really so fed up. And every day I tried to really, with the best of intentions, really to not go down the rabbit hole again, and to handle it with Christ-like fruit in my life. But when I find myself, I'm just down this thing again and again and again. And I really came to a place, I realized, where I was so desperate just for something to change, that for the first time I was desperate enough not to look for the problem in my partner, but to go to the Lord in all vulnerability, and to really mean it when I said, Lord, I'm at the end of myself. I have tried all the things that I could to really resolve this thing, but I just keep messing it up. And the harder I try, the bigger mess I make this. Will you please help me? Show me what I must change about me. Show me what I can change so that this can be better. Because before I was thinking the problem is with him, it's not really with me. So I was sitting and in a moment, I felt in my spirit how the Lord said, you have a victim spirit. When it comes to conflict, you tend to manipulate the whole argument as if you are the victim and your partner is doing, causing my partner is causing me harm. And I was like, yes, Lord, that's kind of harsh. I'm like, a victim spirit. I haven't heard about something like that in my life. I was like, yes, where's this coming from? But I knew I could not think that out myself. I could not imagine that. It was not a concept that was common to me. It was foreign. But the moment the Holy Spirit showed me that this is what I was doing, I couldn't unsee it. Every time since then until today, if I go into an argument, I'm so aware if that thing wants to stand up again. I'm so aware that if there's an argument, I need to check, am I making this about me? Am I manipulating, like in my subconscious? It's not even a conscious thing that I did, in my subconscious. But now I'm aware, so now I'm conscious. So now I can go and say, am I making this thing about me? Am I forcing this to make me the victim and him the villain. And so that's changed, but only because God showed me that thing that I was blind, and that Sydney maybe didn't understand about me how to fix it. It took me into that unknown block where there can become where there can happen growth, through which I can grow and gain victory, not to go down that same rabbit hole anymore. So if emotional intelligence involves an ability to understand what is happening with you and to manage it, I think it's important for us to understand what are the typical responses that we have when things trigger us, and what would be certain triggers that we can just pinpoint them maybe. So often when something happens which triggers us, we are unaware, as we spoke earlier, of what exactly it is and why. But we tend to react in one of three ways in terms of basic human nature. We either act in a way where we fight, where we attack or defend our position fiercely, or we go into flight mode, trying to avoid the situation and to run away from it, or we freeze and do nothing and hope it goes away on its own. So those are the three basic human behaviors when it comes to being in a conflict or in a difficult situation. And we need to become aware of which of these tendencies we have. So when we become vulnerable, we tend to react in one of those ways. And when we are in a place of vulnerability, it's often underlined by a certain feeling. It can either be mostly one of these four. The basic emotional posture might be fear, it might be sadness, it might be anger or shame. So that might be why the trigger is so quickly to create a response which we cannot control so easily. We are unaware of what's causing it, and it's there. But if we go and we maybe dissect it, we can go and look, what is the basic emotional posture that we are having in this situation? So is it fear, sadness, anger, or shame? Something that I also want to just share, for me, I had difficulty in always understanding what was really going on in my heart. So some people are very good thinkers, you know, they dissect themselves and their emotions, and they know exactly how they feel and where they are going. And for me, I'm someone, I just live, I just go, like I don't ponder too much about things. And but that causes me to often like shove certain things down and just going on and not really dealing with them. So you can get by with this for a while, but in the end it catches up. And then it would come to a place where if there's too many things that I've been shoving down and ignoring and just going on, I get to a place where I become irritated, and then like I won't even realize I'm irritated, but then Sydney would kind of make me aware and say, but you know, you are irritated, because I can sense that in your voice and in everything. And then I need to stop and say, okay, I need to reflect. What's really going on? Am I overcommitted to too many things at once? What is it that's happening that's actually kind of scratching you inside that I'm not aware of? But something that I realized is often I lacked the words to describe what it was that I was feeling. I also lacked the ability to often understand what exactly it was that made me feel like that. So only spending time with the Holy Spirit, he breaks it open and he makes me aware. But I want to give you some of the triggers, just to give it a name that can make it easier for you to maybe check. Like if there's something that really always presses your button and you don't exactly know what that thing is that you are feeling, this is just to help you to give it a name. So it might be that I feel excluded. I might feel powerless. I might feel unheard. I might feel scolded at. I might feel judged. I might feel blamed. I might feel disrespected. I might feel a lack of affection or uncared for. I might feel lonely or ignored. might feel like I can't be honest in this situation. Kind of might feel like a bad person, might feel forgotten or unsafe or unloved, might feel like that was unfair, might feel frustrated or disconnected or trapped, might feel a lack of passion, might feel like that I was not able to speak up or verbalize, might have felt manipulated or controlled. So these are things that just gives a word to what triggered you. And then we can go and examine what is at the root of this. Is it that we feel fearful or shamed or angry or sad? What is at the root of this thing? Maybe go and have a look at, maybe is there some of those are there some of those characteristics of the childhood wounds in the previous section that I maybe can identify with that have not been healed or restored, or that I've not taken to God to ask him to help me work through it? And then when healing comes, these feelings and emotions become healed. They don't surface that much anymore, and they are replaced with the fruit of the Spirit, which is joy and peace and love. So just to conclude this session on starting off with how we can change and become better listeners and communicators, is to just know that emotional intelligence is something that the Lord wants to work in our lives on. And just a quick recap, we must learn to perceive what emotions are we feeling and to dissect why, and to facilitate our thoughts, not to react and base our behavior and communication from these emotions, which can be very misleading, which can be from a place of assumptions and many places which it will not deliver good fruit, to making a decision to base our behavior on what the word says, what the truth is, to forgive our brothers, to be kind to one another, not to live in peace with one another. It's also important that we come to a place where we understand our emotions, but that we learn to manage it and to submit it to the word of the Lord, which is the truth. And if there are some of those emotions and things that you feel that, you know, they are getting out of hand, they are stealing from your life, they are really destroying your relationships, and you don't know how to go about changing this, ask the Holy Spirit that he will come and reveal to you in a way like only he can, to bring his truth and his light into that area. It says that something can only hurt you as long as it's kept in the dark, but as soon as we bring it into the light, it loses its power. And if you have maybe someone you can trust, a friend that can pray with you, you can ask them to pray with you. Or if it's someone whose opinion you really trust and you know who has good intentions towards you and is a mature child of God and who will not have an agenda to harm you, you can maybe ask them for some feedback on if they maybe see this is something that you are battling with or not. I just want to end off with, I have a friend. She said she was part of a team where they were working with many students, and she was one of the students. And they had this thing where they needed to write one good characteristic and one bad characteristic about each person in the team. And let's say there were 20 people in her team. When she got her papers back, she had many beautiful characteristics, but let's say it was 20 students, all 20 students identified the same a weakness or growth area in her life, which was a problem with handling or dealing with anger. So she was not aware of that. She never realized it's a problem. But if 20 people say it's something you are struggling with, you need to face the music and realize maybe there is an area where you need to grow, and to take that thing to the Lord and ask him, how can you change it and deal with it? Read up, spend time in his word, to hear what is the truth, what does the Bible say about that specific thing. So it can be good to get some feedback from the people around you who you trust. But the most important feedback and opinion is God's opinion and feedback towards you. So spend time with him and allow him to bring truth and to bring change. And thank you so much for tuning in and being a part of this session. And I pray that it will just bear good fruit, and that the Holy Spirit will just come and that He will just prompt us and train us and teach us, and in His love and in His grace just come and mold us to help us grow and to become better communicators. Okay, until next time, bye.